This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. We must increase vaccinations among the unvaccinated with new vaccination requirements.
It's not going to work. We have other countries with much higher rates of vaccination, and they're seeing record surges of COVID because that's what viruses do.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated.
Their freedom. I want my freedom to live.
Rest in peace, Wheezy.
We are going to need the people to engage in age-old American tradition of simply saying, no, I'm not going to comply. Now, what are you going to do about it? It never stops. They want things to get worse because they want you to suffer so that they can grandstand on your suffering and push for even more control.
They have criminalized freedom. They've made getting sick illegal.
This isn't about COVID any more than the Patriot Act was about Al-Qaeda. It's about government asserting more control over your lives, your rights, your properties, and in this case, your bodily autonomy.
It has a lot of vaccinated people alarmed because of the power grab that's involved.
Enough is enough. We better change our tune and start resisting.
Government makes up less than 1% of the population. If even 5 or 10% of Americans simply refuse to comply, all of this goes away.
Absolutely, this is the hill worth dying on.
We haven't given the statutory authority to any agency to do this kind of thing.
There is no such thing as government power. There's only what we are willing to comply to.
We're in the tough stretch, and it could last for a while.
That's what this has always been about. It's never about what they say it is. It's about controlling you, and it ends when we decide to end it.
This BS is going to stop.
It's time for us to
There's
wake
only
up.
one way to fight back against this, and it's mass non-compliance.
This is the most important thing to fight against.
You can help stop this. You are the power.
There's nothing, not a single thing we're unable to do if we do it together.
The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Remember a simpler time when it was okay to be weird, have fun, and think for yourself?
Well, those days are over. The art of conversation itself is dead. Sacrificed on the altar of divide and conquer and disguised as political correctness and spared feelings. I believe that unity can only come from truth, and that the only way to find truth is by exploring and embracing our valuable differences and having civil, open-minded, and uncomfortable discourse. Conspiracies, politics, religion, and all the taboo topics your family just praise you don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table. We are here to literally change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. So if you're easily offended, put your big girl panties on and buckle up, Buttercup, because you chose to be here. I'm Dan Smots, you are the power, and this is The System is Down.
Oh, man. We're back with another one. Good Lord. Put out so many episodes this week, you'd think I'm like as desperate as Josh Smith is or something. But welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It is The System is Down, where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics like conspiracies, politics, religion, and Justin is already going to make noise in the background, but whatever. We'll get to him in a minute. This is the place where you come to have the conversations and get your panties in a wad because we talk to certain people about certain things that you don't like, and we're going to do it again today. But before we do, let me remind you guys about our sponsors. First and foremost being you guys in the Downers Club like Shannon Martinez, Level Zero, Lee Letourneau, Vanzot Media, Brian Johnson, Carolina B, Lincoln Sack, Jack Casey, Rick Duran, Javari, Andrew Sitchley, Mark Clare, Kyle Evans, Paul Brandenburg, Craig Costa, Joe Kabinski, Anthony Meyer, Mike something, Mitchell something, John something, Tim Brown, Aaron Stewart, Howie Snowden, Nathan Sipes, David White, Lucas Riley, Mary Rome, John Barnhouse, William Wells, and others. If you would like your name on that list, if you would like to be a producer of this show, go to patreon.com/The System is Down and sign up for the Downers Club, and you'll get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content, all the bonus episodes of the show that we typically do after each episode. So go check that out and help this show keep getting bigger, better, more beautiful, more offensive every single week at patreon.com/The System is Down. And we are also sponsored today, of course, by ourselves, the store, where you can get wonderful shirts like the Unity Camp Summer of Love, Healing and Cleansing by Any Means Necessary, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's Unity Camp shirt. Get your official one at thesystemsdown.tv. You can also get Dare to Resist Drugs and Violence, like injections and grenades and police brutality. You can also get I Love New York, with the heart upside down, taking a shit that is also wearing a mask and holding an American flag, getting an injection, holding a passport. And our latest one, where is it? Oh, shit. Hold on. I opposed climate crisis mandates before it was hot. Go check it out, because it's coming down the pike, and you know it is, and it's going to be fun. Get ahead of the curve at thesystemIsdown.tv and get your swag today. We're also sponsored by... Not that. That's for later. We're also sponsored by The Royal Green, which is a book series by an awesome guy named Jack Casey, who writes about things that I don't read, but I hear it's really good. It's a science-y, futuristic-y book about things like conspiracies, politics, and religion. So I hear it has a lot to do with things we talk about here on this show. Jack Casey's an awesome dude. He has the balls to support this show, so go support him at theroyalgreen.com. You can get that book. You can get his second book, which is in silver throned behind me. Hold on. Let me get that out of there. And you can get the latest one, Crowned by Gold, in the series. And you know what I think about the cover. TheRoyalGreen.com. Go check it out. Free Ounce of Kratom is also a sponsor of this show. I am drinking my Kratom right now, which gives me this annoying tone and tenor of my voice that keeps me awake and peppy even in the wee hours of 4 o'clock in the evening. Go try Kratom at freeounceofkratom.com. Enter the promo code TSID, and you'll get 5% off your entire order. You can get Kratom. You can also get things like Delta 8 THC, colloidal silver, natural vitamins, minerals, and all sorts of natural shit that the government doesn't like you to have access to. freeounceofkratom.com, promo code TSID. All right. That's that. That's all for that shit. But I don't really know what today is or what's going to happen. But I've got something here. This is from last week's episode when I had Tower Gang on. I got this comment on the video. Your channel is now shadow banned. This morning I was able to find it. This morning I was able to find it with just the name. Not now possible anymore. I'm not sure how bad your grammar is in real life, but try harder. Keep up producing awesome commercials. Thank you. That's very nice of you. And other more professional content. I hope you don't get dragged down with the shit posters. That being said, my guests today are a degenerate, racist Jew, Nazi shit poster who has flagrant disregard for the non-aggression principle, and her friend who I believe is some sort of translator for her or a politician or something like that. Rothbirdian, Masha, and Justin O'Donnell. How are you guys doing today?
First off, I don't think Josh is desperate. He just has 7 kids. And once you have 7 kids, it's hard to not be desperate.
You know, he says that, but is he really making enough money to fund them? Or is he just using this as an excuse to not spend time with his children?
Both can be true.
Why not both? Sure, yeah. So when I had the guys from Tower Power on last week, in the bonus, Toad was talking about, Masha, your story with LP Massachusetts. I know literally nothing. I ran into you, and Justin, were you at PorkFest too?
Yeah, I don't remember much of it, though.
Okay, so I probably ran into both of you and didn't know anything about who either of you were, so we didn't really talk or anything, but I don't know you guys, don't really know your history, don't know this. Toad just said, hey, she got kicked out for some bullshit, and I was like, let's have her on the show. And then you sent me some stuff, and I was like, well, we already set that up, so I guess we got to do this. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah,
so
this is the tale of how I got kicked out of LP Massachusetts before Bill Weld. I've committed crimes worse than Bill Weld.
Yes. Bill Weld didn't do anything wrong. Hashtag Bill Weld did nothing wrong. Bill Weld only funded wrongdoings. He did not actually do wrongdoing, so that's fine, right?
Well, I tweeted wrong.
Endorsing
wrong
Hillary
thing,
Clinton
so.
could be considered a war crime.
That is fair. That is accurate. Do you go as far as paying taxes is also a war crime?
Yes.
So you are guilty as Bill Weld is.
I don't pay taxes.
Well, yeah,
I guess
taxes? The question is, right, like, yeah.
I haven't paid taxes in 4 years.
Touche. How about sales tax?
I live in New Hampshire.
Oh, well, fuck you. Anyway.
So basically this is a long ad for moving to New Hampshire from Massachusetts.
I mean, you guys have a weird way of selling your points. It's like a bunch of racist accusations, and then all of a sudden people are like, I think I'll move there. They seem like decent people.
Yeah.
Is that the long strategy? Get all of your racist friends to move up to New Hampshire with you?
I mean, I know at least 4 people who showed up to PorkFest this year specifically to support Archie in his debate about racism in the LP, and then Archie didn't show up, and they've since moved to New Hampshire.
Wow. Okay.
That's cool.
So I get they showed up for him. They were like, we weren't convinced to move here before, but now seeing that he's not going to come around, maybe it's a decent place.
I think so, or that they actually got to talk to the people that the internet told them to hate.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the big problem within like the liberty movement in general is like everything is distilled to 240 characters,
right?
And you don't actually get to know people. Like when Jeremy Kauffman had his whole drama when everyone was freaking out, like, how can New Hampshire let a racist piece of shit like Jeremy Kauffman run their Twitter account? I'm like, I don't know. He's a really nice guy. I play Magic with him, and his partner Rachel's one of my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't pay that close attention to other people's Twitter accounts at all, really. Like, I couldn't tell you 5 Jeremy Kauffman tweets outside of the ones that that's wrong, but outside of the ones that they're reading about. But in real life, I've interacted with Jeremy, and I've had him on my show 3 times, I think. Had no idea he was a racist deep down inside. He hides it well in real life. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Masha hides it in real life
right?
because people can't understand her until she types it out.
Yes, I know. Right. So I am apparently very anti-Semitic in real life, which is why LP Massachusetts kicked out their Jew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It is funny. So we'll get into all the drama and everything. Well, let me start out with this. And I did this with Tower Power guys too. Because of all the accusations, like I don't personally have any reason to think that you are racist for things that you post online, but if you are, I'm not going to like kick you out of here or scream at you. We will still have a conversation, but just for the record, what's your stance on racism? Are you racists? Are you anti-Semites? Like just straight up.
I mean, I really hate myself, right? So
I mean, you are pretty miserable.
Myself. Yeah.
Understandable
right?
that you would hate yourself.
And I'm a terrible Jew, partially because I haven't lost the weight I want to lose yet. So being a chubby Jew is pretty bad. But I just on principle will not denounce racism because people want me to denounce it, right?
Sure.
Like I don't. The only thing that I am averse to is saying I denounce racism as irrational and repugnant because I think it's cringe and I think it does nobody any favors.
Sure.
The virtue.
I don't think I'm racist, but like, how do you define racism, right? Because apparently, like, praising Jeremy Kauffman makes me racist.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. So I specifically do not want to say it because my lack of silence to other people signals racism. And I don't like how it's defined.
Sure. So you're unwilling to say that you're not a racist, is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I am only willing to say that I'm anti-Semitic because I'm a Jew and I hate myself.
I'll condemn racism, but not for the reason they want me to.
Right.
Like I'll condemn racism because collectivism is the laziest reason to fucking hate somebody.
Right.
And I fucking hate people who don't take the time to get to know somebody and find a legitimate reason to hate them. Like I don't hate fucking woke Jeremy because he's black. I hate woke Jeremy because he's woke. It's a
so
whole
we
different
should
fucking
actually
thing.
differentiate here. We have a Chad Jeremy, who's Jeremy Kauffman, and we internally refer to Jeremy Kauffman as Chad Jeremy.
Okay.
And then there is an executive committee member of the Massachusetts LP who also is Jeremy, and we call him Woke Jeremy, so we can differentiate between the two Jeremys.
Mm-hmm.
And Woke Jeremy was initially really upset at me fangirling over Jeremy Kauffman, and that's how this whole thing began.
Okay.
This whole thing began because Jeremy Kauffman tweeted these bad words, be charging us heresy rates for taxes or something like that.
Yeah.
Vogue Jeremy tweeted at me saying, like, are you gonna get to Jeremy Kauffman's level next? And I replied with like a pouty face being, we could only aspire to Jeremy Kauffman's greatness. And then it was like posted in the LP Massachusetts Slack, like, how dare you endorse bigotry?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how this thing got kicked off. But,
so question number 2, how dare you endorse bigotry?
So see, like when like somebody asked me, right? But this is exactly it. When like like somebody posts a post of Jeremy Kauffman's and which says these income taxing bad words be charging us heresy rates. Like, is this going to be your next level? The only thing that I can say is that I can only aspire to reach this level, not because like I really care about that joke.
It was a Hunter Biden quote.
Yes, it was a Hunter Biden quote. Right?
Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah. I get it now.
Right? So, like, I am in trouble for
That's
what
hilarious.
Jeremy Kauffman said for what Hunter Biden said, right?
Yeah.
But like,
knowing that Jeremy Kauffman said the tweet that he said, I was like, it doesn't really have that much of a point. It's just like being edgy for the sake of being edgy. The fact that realizing and remembering that it is a Hunter Biden quote does make it pretty fucking funny. I'll be honest.
Right.
It makes it
so
hilarious.
Anyway, I went into this ramble, but because we said woke Jeremy, we should like differentiate between the two Jeremys.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry.
So tell me a bit about you guys, like your. Not necessarily like, oh, how'd you discover liberty or how'd you get here or whatever, but like to some degree, like who are you? How have you gotten here to the point where you caring about Jeremy Kauffman is somehow a violation of the NAP? Like, what is a little bit of your history personally within the LP?
Do you want to go first, Justin?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, my LP history is kind of storied. I was in the Army, I was in the Massachusetts National Guard, and I was working a domestic security mission after being involved in the Boston Marathon bombing response. And I had a day where like a protester like really actually turned me. A protester did something that made me realize, oh, we're the fucking bad guys. And came to that conclusion. I left the Army, joined the Libertarian Party. And when I got to the Libertarian Party, it was full of a bunch of autistic people. Couldn't communicate, couldn't do anything. So I wrote a book called Selling Liberty on how to use basic sales techniques and a basic sales training, because that's my career. I work in sales.
Sure.
To teach libertarians how to fucking talk to people because they suck at it. And
Yes.
turns out when you're the non-autistic guy helping with the Massachusetts Libertarian Party, they're just like, you should be on the state committee. You should be in charge. You should run for office. Next thing I knew, it was like 8 months after I joined the Libertarian Party, I was on the LNC. So like it was just like
so the bar is set low, guys. If you're skeptical about this whole takeover thing working or not, the bar is set pretty low. If somebody like Justin, an obvious anti-Semite, can just come out of nowhere and take over the party on his own, what's stopping us?
Yeah, I did 2 terms on the LNC, and I ended up running for office a bunch, as you can see with the signs behind me. But people like at some point started to value my opinions just because I was seen as leadership within the Libertarian Party. And when Jeremy Kauffman first started getting in trouble with the people in New Hampshire, which led to the whole New Hampshire coup and everything, my refusal to condemn Jeremy, because he hasn't said anything against the platform.
Right. Yeah.
Like
he said some really offensive, edgy shit to normies, but has he said anything not libertarian? That is
no.
At worst, very debatable. At best,
not on the LPNH page. Never. When he tweeted as the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire, he never went against a platform once. On his personal page, he pushed the boundaries.
Do you want to say whose tweet he got in trouble for?
Yeah. So he had a personal tweet on his personal page, not even from LPNH, where he retweeted a question, and the question was, would you rather live in a world where 1,000 trans people are murdered every year, but you never have to pay taxes again?
Mm-hmm.
And he said,
and
yes,
that was
I'd
a
vote
poll
for
that I made.
Yeah, and it was Masha's fucking tweet. So Jeremy Kauffman got in trouble for Masha's tweet way before she got in trouble for his.
Yeah, I was telling you guys before the show, I had Jeremy Kauffman on to defend himself and discuss that whole debacle, and he said at the time, it wasn't even my tweet. I don't take responsibility. I mean, he didn't backpedal or anything, but he was like, it wasn't even my frickin' tweet. I shared somebody else's. And now come to find out, nobody is safe because she's here now. So
we tweet mean things, right? Which is actually so pathetic to talk about, because we shouldn't be talking about the LP and just tweeting, right? Like when I've been in the short time that I've been in the Massachusetts LP, I've been asking them, hey, can you promote this protest against mask mandates and vaccine passports? Can you promote this protest against mask mandates and vaccine passports? Can you promote this protest against vax mandates? Right? Like people are unwilling to get outside. People are unwilling to tweet about getting outside, but we will talk about tweets for weeks afterward, right?
Yeah.
But it takes so little time to shoot down a protest. It takes apparently a lot of willingness and enthusiasm to keep talking about mean tweets from people like me and Jeremy.
Right. Yeah. They will remember a tweet, so, like, forever. That will be ingrained in their brain, and you are that person that made that tweet. That is your label forever. But they won't. I mean, the amount that they will discuss the things that matter, the libertarian things.
We can't go and yell outside with signs because it's too Trumpy. Because God forbid somebody might show up with a thin blue line flag. Yes. Yes, they have refused so far to promote 4 protests because they were too Trumpy. I'm like, I don't give a fuck if somebody shows up with a thin blue line flag. I'm there when my parents have address sign.
Right, and God forbid you are seen with somebody that you disagree with. Maybe you could have a conversation with them. How are you going to do anything if you're never going to be seen with people you disagree with? It's
also fine for the LP Massachusetts to promote a Planned Parenthood rally.
Of course, yes.
Right?
Well, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
I think what you're highlighting is really the crux of all libertarian issue and protest, and like maybe a big part of why the Libertarian Party has accomplished so little in the past 50 years. Because bitching about a tweet for weeks on end doesn't require anybody to get up off their ass and do anything. Right. They do it in the Slack channel from the comfort of their mother's basement. They're not actually going out and doing anything. They're not lifting a finger to fight against the state. Promoting the Planned Parenthood protest, it was a protest in Texas. Nobody in Massachusetts is actually going to go there. They just wanted to retweet it. That's all that they see activism is likes, comments, and retweets. Why can't you promote a protest in Boston? I've been going outside and yelling amongst Trumpers, and for some reason the Trumpers are more accepting of me than LP Massachusetts.
Right.
Because they don't like you because you are not them. You're not on the in crowd. This is the problem we had in New Hampshire too. At some point, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire just became an inner circle where there was 100-something members in the party, but it was 15 people in a group chat. And that was all that was actually active. And that was all that actually did anything. And it was only discussed between them. They never reached out to other members. In Massachusetts, I think you guys are having the same thing where you have 9 people on the state committee who have a group chat about promoting themselves and talking about what a great job they're doing, but God forbid they lift a finger to actually fight against the state, and God forbid they promote a member who's doing more than they're doing to fight the state, especially when what you're actually fighting against is something that they find comfortable, because we've created a pandemic of too many libertarians who are naturally introverted and autistic, and they don't like human engagement and interacting with other people, that when it came to the lockdowns and the mandates, they fucking celebrated deep down inside because now they had an excuse.
Britney Spears. Like the LP of Massachusetts has been so fucking silent on the lockdowns, but they've tweeted about freeing Britney.
To be fair, I tweeted about freeing Britney. That was a major issue.
We should free Britney, but I care more about medical tyranny than Britney.
Right. Yeah, and it's the same even with abortion and stuff like that. If you're pro-abortion, if you're a libertarian, like that's a gray area for libertarianism in my opinion. And I don't care if you disagree with me on it. If you want to go out and yay abortion, do that. Go yay abortion it up. Go yay baby killing all you want. That's fine. But at the same time, like between the two, between abortion and government mandated lockdowns and injections, which one of these two things are more antithetical to libertarianism? Like one that's a gray area or one that is about literally the whole reason we have a platform to begin with, the whole point of this party.
But if you say that during a meeting, you are disruptive, and right, because that's what I've been trying to say. Like at the first meeting that I came in, I was like, hey, why have you guys been silent? Like, why are you guys not every day pushing this, right? If it's not this, then what, right? And that is, disruptive behavior. Then if you're upset about not promoting protests, then that's disruptive behavior. If you ask them, do you hate the state? That is disruptive behavior. It is disruptive behavior to ask your local Libertarian Party, do you hate the state? And refusal to answer is just killing me.
Did that happen? You asked them, do you hate the state?
Do you hate the state?
Okay.
To be fair, to at least one of the state committee members in Massachusetts.
Yes, it was like, fine, I do hate the state, but.
Well, the whole meeting, Masha kept interrupting, do you hate the state? Do you hate the state? They silenced her. Other people kept asking. One of the state committee members started texting me. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ. I hate the state, but I'm refusing to answer because I can't engage with Masha.
Right. So, I mean, in fairness, it's kind of like the racism thing where you refuse to answer the question just because fuck you. So. That's why.
Yeah.
So, if
Yeah,
I was on the
really
other side of
fair
that and I felt like I was right and I disagreed with you on something and you kept saying in my face, do you hate the state? I'd say, fuck you. Get out of my face. Because I'm also a libertarian and that's how we deal with our problems.
Yes. We agree or we say fuck you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
We should just rename it the Contrarian Party.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, we're not unified on what we actually believe, it seems, so why not? We are the the fuck everybody else party. We want to feel special, so. Yeah. So Masha, how long have you been involved in the Massachusetts party?
Actually, not long at all. I think I joined like a couple of months ago, because I've known about them for a very long time. I mean, I initially knew they existed because of a Tinder date I didn't go on, and then I've met, like, I got to know of a Mises Caucus effort, and I got involved partially. Like, I am very black-pilled on the LP and using the LP as a messaging tool, especially because first you have to overcome the hurdle of tweeting about Planned Parenthood. But I've been very black-pilled on it, and then I thought more about, well, for the time being, I'll be in Massachusetts. I'll move to New Hampshire eventually. But while I'm in Massachusetts, I can either roll my eyes every time I see the LP tweet, or I can join in and share my ideas and
immediately get kicked out.
And immediately get kicked out, right? But it was just more the case of, like, while I'm here, I will jump in for the masochism and for the lulz, and I guess I got the masochism and the lulz.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Shannon Lee says, LMFAO, this gets better the more we talk about it. Thank you, Tinder.
Yes, thank you. I actually can honestly thank Tinder for a lot of things in my life. But yeah, no,
good and bad.
It's just, yeah, it's just more than a case of, right, like for like like a staunch libertarian not to know about the LP in your local state until you just have to match with Tinder, like,
right.
Right. Again, it's like it shouldn't have taken me Tinder to find out that this even exists.
Tinder is doing a better job at recruiting libertarians than the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts is. Can we say that?
Well, it's not like it's outing, right?
So,
but yeah, I feel like I've been identifying as a libertarian for the past decade. It's just more the case of, like, I just thought, like, okay, like, why not? Even though I'm very black-pilled, but I have friends that believe in the Mises Caucus, and I just finally decided, well, I'll be in this with my friends.
Yeah, it seems like there's nothing better at black-pilling libertarians than the Libertarian Party. It's like, yay, I'm a libertarian. I've discovered this new philosophy. Oh, there's a party for that? Let's do it. Oh, fuck libertarianism. That's just awful.
And, right,
they're terrible
and I
people.
say this, like, I've held this ideology for a decade now. It's not like it's
sure.
No, you're right. It's not even. It's like I had Mark Pellegrino on my show last week to talk about the things he's doing, because he's a staunch, ardent libertarian, has been forever.
Sure.
And I'm like, so how come you didn't get involved in the Libertarian Party? He's like, I looked at the Libertarian Party and I decided I needed to start a new one. Right. And he's gone and started a whole new political party after one look at the Libertarian Party.
What's his party called?
The American Capitalist Party.
Okay. Just straight to the point, huh?
Yeah. But like, he's somebody who, like, could have really helped with the Libertarian Party's, like, outreach and messaging, because like, hey, how great would it be if the Libertarian Party pushed out a thing like, come join us, we got Lucifer. Like,
sure, why not?
I couldn't even convince my boyfriend to join LP Massachusetts. My boyfriend is an anarcho-capitalist just like me. I couldn't even convince my own boyfriend to do it. I run a local Liberty meetup. It has over 140 people.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those people, I don't think I could convince to join the LP. Like, think about this. There is a network of 140 people in the greater Boston area that are, like, liberty adjacent, right? So I said, like, if you identify as an anarchist, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, libertarian, etc., like, there is a network of over 140 people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could convince them.
And how many are in the party? Do you know?
I think like a couple.
A couple?
A couple. No, like I couldn't convince my own boyfriend.
Sure. I mean, like how many people
look at
around
LP.
Boston is, though.
What?
Really think about what a prime recruiting ground Boston is for libertarians. Boston, it is the birthplace of liberty in America. It is like
people
the crux of
killed
where the American
cops
Revolution started.
over taxes.
In Minecraft.
Killed cops over taxes in Boston and New Hampshire.
We killed cops over taxes, right? Like, this should be the...
Beyond
yeah,
that,
sorry.
It has evolved into one of the more oppressive cities and states in the country that, as far as deprivation of freedom and how it treats people. But anybody who has like a glimmer of freedom as they walk around Boston has to walk by the graves and memorials to John Adams, to Samuel Adams, to Ben Franklin, like the country's founding fathers and like real, true revolutionary patriots who said, fuck it, we've had enough. We're going to kill cops and kill government agents and take our freedom. Mm-hmm. And these people are given that daily reminder in Boston. So you would think it would be a prime recruiting ground for libertarians and people who are adjacent to liberty.
But there's so many liberty-minded people here. That's kind of the beauty of it, right? Is like we do hikes and picnics and board games, right? Like these people are here. It's just, if the LP wants to recruit them, don't cry about racism and mean tweets.
Yeah. So let's talk about what exactly. Let's talk about what exactly happened. We touched on it a bit, but you got kicked out, right? Or you're in the process of getting kicked out, or you're not sure if you're out after 2 months in.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I've been kicked out. My account is deactivated. Initially, I tweeted enough to get an expulsion letter, because at first my account was just shut off, right? So that if you tweet enough at your chair, then your chair will send you an expulsion letter.
Your what account got shut off?
So my LP Massachusetts account, just one night it was locked off, right? But so initially what happened was that the Massachusetts Mises Caucus had tweeted at LP Texas. LP Texas said something, Confederacy bad. And the Massachusetts Mises Caucus tweeted at Texas saying, well, if you think, Confederacy was bad, wait till you hear about the Union.
Okay.
Apparently, if you say something about the Union being bad, it means you want to enslave Black people.
Wow. Okay. Do you want to break some of this down? Because this is, for the normie listeners, these are some things that are put out there as like, this is a crazy libertarian thing. If you start digging into it, you might figure out what exactly they're trying to mean. Can you break down what you and they and these tweets back and forth mean?
Want me to?
Either one of you. Doesn't matter.
The Civil War was not fought to free the slaves.
Okay.
The Civil War was fought to enlarge the state. And a lot of people had to die for nothing.
The big argument, the big issue that people have when debating the Civil War and the Union versus the Confederacy especially is the issue of slavery. And people like to say it was only about slavery, it was about slavery, and every argument gets distilled down to slavery. Right. Because yes, the secession letters of 10 of the Confederate states stated that they were seceding to protect the institution of slavery from what they saw as a Republican takeover of the federal government, because they thought Republican abolitionists from the North were going to abolish slavery, so that's why they were seceding.
Sure.
That is set in stone. The Confederacy were pieces of shit who didn't value human freedom or human liberty. But the North didn't fight the war for slavery. The North fought the war for the preservation of the Union. As known by, not a single slave was freed by the North during the Civil War.
When the Massachusetts Caucus pointed it out, saying what were the lives of these enslaved Black people any better after the Civil War?
Right.
It was like, oh, you don't care about the slavery of Black people, you're racist, right? So
how do you get that out of that? Like, they said,
well,
was it any better? And that's that they weren't saying slavery was better. It doesn't. I know it's just an ignorance thing. They haven't dug into it,
right?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is nobody's dug into it,
right? And that's why I'm asking you to Explain it better.
It's not something that's taught. It's not something that public education goes into. It's not even something politicians want to go into. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that during the Civil War, there were 3 Union states that held slaves. And when Abraham Lincoln gave the Emancipation Proclamation, it was not an effort to free the slaves. It was an effort to keep England out of the war, because England was preparing to enter the war on the side of the Confederacy because they had a trade agreement with the Confederacy for cotton that they for their industrial revolution. And
we've got a special guest coming in. It's racist Nazi himself, Jeremy Kauffman. Jeremy, how's it going?
Hello, my racist cosmopolitan.
Who may or may not be able to hear us.
Yeah, but when Abraham Lincoln gave the Emancipation Proclamation, that was the first time the war ever became about slavery, and it was just to keep the British from entering the war on the Confederate side because England had already abolished slavery. But what it didn't do was free the slaves in West Virginia or Kentucky or Tennessee or any of the Union states that held slaves. And it only freed the slaves in territories that didn't recognize the authority of Abraham Lincoln to free their slaves.
Sure.
And in fact, after the North won the war, it was another 2 years until a single slave was actually freed.
Sounds like some revisionist history you got there, Justin.
And that is why you're here as my chaperone, because I would not have been able to say this, and I would have just called people blue-pilled and other mean words, and then this would have gone badly.
Now, I know that, like I said, these are things that like libertarians throw around, like, oh, the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery, but we don't very often really break it down. But to explain it, we have a man who knows all about it and will tweet offensive things about it. Jeremy Kauffman, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm here now. I'm offended that you've called me offensive, but yeah, I'm happy to be talking with you guys. I've only got about 15 minutes, just a heads up. So I'm gonna have to bounce
Jeremy, one thing we realized, and I don't know if you've realized this yet, but the tweet that initially got you in trouble, the trans people's lives or taxes tweet, was a retweet of something that Masha had originally tweeted. So before you got her kicked out of LP Mass, she got you in trouble in New Hampshire.
Just like a racist libertarian circle jerk over here.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it's always correct to dig your heels in. Now in Masha's case, I mean, I think they're being pretty ridiculous. But
I also dig my heels in too much.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think I could have phrased that tweet better. I think if you're a libertarian, the notion that trans murders is a bigger problem than the state, I mean, I think that's ludicrous. I think you'd have to be crazy to believe that the 100, I think it's like 100 people or 50 people, like the state is way more evil than that, right? So, someone saying that transphobia is a bigger problem than the state, that's basically saying you're not a libertarian. But that doesn't mean we can't make mistakes. My intent is to get people to be thinking. I'm never sitting there and just being like, oh, I'm going to make so many people angry. That's never the intent, just to make people angry.
It's just a perk. It's just a perk of the job.
And it was something that I heard from somebody else that, hypothetical question. I just don't remember who said it. And I just made it a poll because I love making polls.
I was kind of annoyed that my response didn't get any traction because everybody was focused on Jeremy's. All Jeremy said was, I voted for A. I voted for, it just sounds like a year in Chicago.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that poll got you in trouble. Yeah, I mean, these people are crazy. I don't know if you guys have talked about the fact that I'm not aware of the Democrat or the Republican Party doing anything like this. I'm not aware that they attempt to sort of police people's stances and you can get kicked out of one of the parties. I don't think anything like this happens. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone can correct me on that. I'm not. It's not something I've researched, but it's not something I'm aware of.
So they actually have mechanisms. At least the Republican Party, is through my history of involvement with them, has mechanisms to kick people out and officially disavow people.
You just don't hear about it because they disappear right after.
No, they never fucking do it because nobody's ever been a big enough of a problem for the Republican Party to need to remove them. Or if they became a big enough problem, they were too high profile to remove, like fucking Donald Trump. It all comes down to the fact that the solution to pollution is dilution. If you're upset with something that somebody else is saying, you need to recruit 1,000 more people to say something different. And then nobody will pay attention to the one crazy person. And they are big enough that it doesn't matter to them what one or two crazy people say.
Yeah, right. Like Masha, you have no formal role or had no formal role in the LPMA, right? before this, right?
I'm just a
You were
chick with a Twitter account.
So like, I don't even understand like what's the theory here that like there are these prospective people who are going to join the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts, and then like, but they didn't because they saw what Masha said on Twitter. Like, what's even the like theory of causality? How did they like Googled Libertarian Party of Massachusetts and then her tweets show? I mean, that obviously doesn't happen.
You can't even find me because it's not like I would. It's too embarrassing to advertise LPMA through my Twitter. It is too embarrassing.
I pissed off Fakertarians.
As I was saying, like I couldn't even get my boyfriend to join the LP because it's so cringy. Right?
Well,
like,
I pointed out the other day, I believe Fakertarians has done more damage to the Libertarian Party than anybody Fakertarians tries to damage, because it's a bunch of people who have no official position. They're just tweeting on their own personal timelines, and Fakertarians goes and screenshots it and publicizes this is what's wrong with the Libertarian Party.
And why, if you were convinced that you were in a party that's full of racists, why would you stay in that party? Why are they trying, like, I'm not saying that the party is full of
else.
Sure.
Or you might think there's one bad apple, and you need to kick out the bad apple, which is the Russian Jew.
Yeah, but people like JBH leaving the party saying, it was just full of racists. I couldn't take it anymore. It's like, you were the head, man. You were the guy. You were the head of the racist party. So if it was either racist or you were the head. Yeah,
and I think the way that you square this is, and I think it's very clear, and the LP Massachusetts being just a more amateurish form of LP National, more incompetent form. They're not quite as good at their scheming. Basically these people, they're in this for a club. That's why they're in it. Okay, they've defined their identity and their lives around it, right? And that's their thing. That's what they care about. I'm the chair of the Libertarian Party. I'm whatever. They're not actually interested in growing the party. They're not actually interested in achieving a libertarian society. What they're interested in doing is having their club. And so when they're interested in having their club, they're interested in finding any reason to get people out of the club that threaten their positions of status or within it.
And in this note, I want to add that in the meeting, Ashley Shade said I'm one of the people being considered, even though I was like voted out before the meeting began, but that's another story. But she said Masha is one of the people being considered. So, okay.
Do we know who these other people are at all, or just?
No, because nobody will say anything, because if you say wrong things, you will get purged.
Yeah,
well, that party leadership is so disconnected from membership, they don't know who anyone is who hasn't made themselves known.
Sure.
Well, but why would you make yourself known if you can get purged? If you can get purged with a secret ballot and a crying baby.
Yeah. But just disconnected from reality. Like, I guarantee you that Ashley Shade, and I've done no research into her, but I would bet 10-1 or better right now that she just has absolutely nothing going on in her life. That she's unsuccessful professionally. She doesn't have a family. This is her life. Okay. And it is her life, this status that she has in the party. And so for people to be coming in and threatening that's an existential threat to her, because then she'd be left with nothing. And so it doesn't matter. It's all about that. It's holding on to this one thing that she has. The only thing that's good that she has going for her is that she's involved with the Massachusetts Libertarian Party. And so if a group of people who are more enthusiastically libertarian than she is, who want to come in and get involved, and they might not like her, because why would you want someone like that as the face of the party? And that's not a trans woman.
Why would you want an overweight trans woman?
Well, I think if they want to be trans, I'm not anti-trans. It's fine that she's trans.
I'm just anti-overweight.
Yeah, I actually would agree that that's probably big.
But I want to chime in here and just say that I do know Ashley a bit. I worked with her on the Vermin campaign stuff. I've personally never had any bad encounter with her, so I'm not gonna I don't want to dogpile on her or anything. If she's said stuff or done stuff that you guys know that you disagree with, which she's certainly welcome to come on and give her side of the story too, but I'm not here to bash on her particularly, but we're not great friends or anything.
Ashley's never done anything personally that I find disagreeable. It's professionally. And as long as I have known Ashley, she's been constantly running for something. That's all she does is run for something. She is never not campaigning, whether it's for city council race that she's not going to win or an LP seat internally. She is constantly running for something.
Says the guy with the campaign signs behind his head.
I gave a whole big rant the other night about how that's never happening again, and these are just reminders of all the time and money I wasted.
Right.
Some of Jeremy's money I wasted too.
Right.
But she's constantly failed at everything she's run for. And that's, to me, like, when she asked me for an endorsement to replace me on the LNC, when I announced I wasn't going to run for a third term, she decided she was going to run for my seat. She asked me for an endorsement. I flat out said no. Like, I'm not going to endorse somebody who constantly runs for internal party office and then gets removed from that office because she never showed up to do the job. Like, the only office she didn't get removed from before this was the chair of outright libertarians. But when she got elected chair of outright libertarians, it was a thriving, massive caucus within the party that was doing great work to recruit people from outside the party. And it just ceased to fucking exist when she was in charge. They didn't have booths at conventions. They didn't do any recruiting. They didn't do any promotion. It was just a resume filler for her. When she got elected to be treasurer of the Massachusetts party, 3 months later, the state committee voted to remove her because she never showed up, never filed a single treasurer's report. She didn't do the job, but she was too busy traveling around the country to conventions, promoting herself as the transgender face of the party. And the moment she got elected chair of LP Massachusetts, she didn't send out an email to members saying, okay, great, here's what we're going to do, here's my mission forward. She sent out a national press release to say the Libertarian Party just elected the first openly transgender state chair. And that is all her chairmanship has been marked by, is promoting the fact that she's the first openly transgender state party chair in the country.
Which that's cool.
All she cares about.
That's cool. But if there's not more than that, which I'm not saying there isn't, I don't know, but
right.
I have nothing against that. Sure, promote that. We should be saying, hey, see, we're more diverse, we're more this, we're more that, whatever, play ball. But if that's all you got to go on, then that's
right.
Nothing. So
it's a big nothing.
Anyway,
yeah.
So
then I said we can only aspire to Jeremy Kauffman's level of greatness with a pouty face in the Slack channel. It's like, are you going to endorse this bigotry, right?
Right.
And then once you give me prompt to lean in, I'm gonna poke the angry bear with a stick because that's my impulse.
Yeah. Jeremy, I will say I saw your tweet and I was like, it's a chuckle. And then Justin just pointed out that it's a Hunter Biden quote, and I was like, oh, okay, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's
it came out that day. Hunter Biden had said exactly that, right? Yeah.
And imagine saving that tweet, waiting for me to tweet something in favor of the Mises Caucus Civil War tweets, and then being like, well, is Jeremy Kauffman next? Of like, is that really like the sort of ultimate evil baddie you can think of?
Yes.
And by the way, like to be clear on my stance, like I don't generally support using racial slurs. Like I don't think you should call people racial slurs.
I didn't say it until they got mad at me about your tweet.
Right. And what I dislike is this concept of tabooing words when we're talking about the words, that we don't need to taboo them. It's funny because I bet all these people read Harry Potter, right? And they're like the people who want to say he who won't be named. It's like, just say Voldemort. That's who we're talking about. Like that's what was said. It's just a sound. And the tabooing of the word, that's what gives them the power. The timidity that we have about saying certain words out loud, that is what grants them the power when they are used as slurs, right? It's like if I call you a jerk, no one cares if you get called a jerk, because jerk's not a taboo word, right? And if you want to weaken the impact that these kinds of words have, you have to weaken the taboo of saying,
right?
Yeah. And look, I think that if you think that I am too fragile to hear the word kike, then you are actually anti-Semitic.
Right. And that's a fair point that I've made on the show many times. It's like saying that we can't make a joke about black people to black people or in the vicinity of black people is just disrespectful to black people, thinking that they're too stupid to understand what jokes are, because jokes are inclusive. That's the only thing we have left to unify on. If we're unable to joke around with people, then that's not creating more unity between different quote unquote races of people. That's segregation. That's tiptoeing around people. I don't understand the appeal, but here we are. And we all grew up on fucking South Park. What the hell?
Yeah.
We all grew up on Ren and
during the
Stimpy.
meeting, like, am I being expelled because Jeremy Kauffman said bad word? And it's like, oh, Masha said bad word. Oh no.
Right.
Right. But it's like I wouldn't have asked that question explicitly had I not felt like, well, you're really upset about this. I will poke the angry bear with a stick because I don't know what else to do.
And this whole guilt by association thing that we are obsessed with is just staggering. Like the Josh Smith is a Nazi because he had Hotep Jesus on, who said something about the alt-right at one point, who have some people who claim to be Nazis and yada yada. Like, most of the alt-right aren't even actual Nazis. You're talking about association, like this human centipede of Nazism, and Josh Smith, a Jewish Israeli man. He's not really Jewish.
He's half Israeli.
Whatever. Israeli dude, Israeli-ish dude. You're going to call him a Nazi because he associates with a black dude who associates with, like, just absolute utter horseshit.
I mean, they used like a tweet of mine where I said I would rather be friends with people that are genuinely concerned about the Jews than people are offended on my behalf.
Yeah.
And they used this tweet as evidence saying Masha is aligning with racists.
Yep.
And the whole Jew thing came up because the Mises Caucus tweeted like, we wouldn't want to enslave anybody, especially the ruthless cosmopolitans of LP Massachusetts. And ruthless cosmopolitans is a dog whistle for a Jew and under Soviet Russia.
Is it?
And it was like
who knew that? Who knew that before they looked it up?
If you look for it on Wikipedia, it is like ruthless cosmopolitan is an older time dog whistle for Jew.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say
it was Jew approved, right? It was Jew approved.
I had never heard
and Jeremy's gone.
the term
ruthless
cosmopolitan. Yeah, I had never heard this term until it became a point of contention with the Massachusetts Party on Twitter.
Right.
And I fucking love it.
I love it too, right?
Like to me, I've been using it to describe free staters in general because they're rootless. They came from all over the place, and they're cosmopolitan people who are wide and varied in their culture.
So I will ask, like, with 3 shit posters on the call, who I don't think would disagree, what is it that drives you to use terminology like rootless cosmopolitan? Is it just knowing that people will go, I got you now, that's it? Or is there something more to this?
I'm actually trying to avoid it because a man much far nearer than I am wrote it on a Twitter account, right? So like none of the Mises Caucus tweets that are funny are written by me. Like,
I mean, you've got the funny Jew blood. You've got that at least going for you.
No, but
I don't know if that overpowers the woman blood.
But like the only reason that I use it now is because it upset people.
Yeah.
So I try and avoid using language like I try and avoid using language that people generally see as offensive because it's a distraction from the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And like I'm an author, I write a lot, and I consider like language to be an art form. Like if you can't find a way to describe what you're doing without just resorting to slurs, then you're not going to properly communicate your point to somebody who's just going to be distracted by the slur. But like rootless cosmopolitan, that is a fucking artful word. And I will continue to use it.
But knowing that it will upset people, why? I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because I'm kind of a jerk
at this point
myself.
because I've learned very quickly over the past week who it upsets, and I don't care about their opinions.
It depends. In my speaking for myself, like it depends on who's being upset, and like I'm generally not saying something just to make people upset. I'll give you an example of a shit, but I would accept that I'm a shit poster because I think shit posting is like basically saying things that are like provocative, that are making people think, that may trigger some people. But I tweeted this last week, and it didn't even do particularly well. But something like. The Prime Minister of New Zealand was more successful at keeping out Muslims than the Christchurch shooter, right? Now, that is, I believe, a factually true statement because he didn't really accomplish anything, and new Muslims haven't been allowed into New Zealand for coming up on 2 years, right? And so that's like, it's designed to be provocative to get people thinking about the fact that, hey, like, that's actually kind of racist, or to not be letting people into your country, to not be and I don't mind using the fact that it's provocative to hopefully spread the message, right?
Sure.
But I don't like to be provocative, like solely for being provocative for the sake of being provocative. I like there to be a message. Like I do thinking that certain people can't hear certain words be said. I think that's more racist than saying the words. Yeah. And I'm going to say that to get people to see that idea. But I'm never saying something just to piss people off.
Which makes you better than me, I think. No, and I'm not.
So, Masha, why do you say things just to piss people off?
Because it's funny.
because there's something terribly wrong with me and I hate myself. I don't know.
No, I think it's human. It's a sense of power. If you can make someone else experience emotions that they didn't intend to experience, then you do have a sense. Then you do have a form of power over them.
Sure.
I think that's generally why people are attracted to that kind of action.
Yeah.
Power in the same sense as Libertarian Party leaders have power, or like actual power?
In neither sense. In the sense that, like, I caused you to feel something or to do something that you didn't want to do before I did the thing. So it gives the individual doing it, a sense of control, a sense of influence. If you make someone feel a certain way, right?
I think
There's
Dan,
more
like the point you
self-insight
just
that I was
made
ready
inadvertently. Yeah, I think Dan just inadvertently made the biggest point of the whole thing is when you look at all of this liberty drama and Libertarian Party drama and you distill it down to what people are fighting over, the fucking craziest part is how little power people are actually
fighting over a Twitter account. If I get 1,000 more followers, I will outgrow LPMA in my Twitter following.
Yeah.
We're fighting over a Twitter account.
The Libertarian Party can't control who runs for office as a libertarian. The state secretaries of state do that. And it's all a matter of who you register as and whether or not they collect the petitions. The Libertarian Party can't kick anyone off the ballot. They don't actually have power to control their name and messaging in politics. All your people are fighting over is who controls the Twitter account. It's fucking crazy.
Has anyone ever heard of Sayre's Law? So this is from a professor at Columbia University. I just looked it up. I wouldn't have known that. But it's in any dispute, the intensity of feeling is inversely proportional to the value of the issues at stake. And the follow-up quote is, "This is why academic politics are so bitter." And I think it definitely applies here. Yeah.
Having been in academia before this, I can.
No, and you look at it like big corporate like property merger suits where people are fighting over billions of dollars and everybody's calm and collected and doing the paperwork and making sure things are right. And you look at like petty political squabbles of people fighting over somebody using a mean word on Twitter and is fucking left and right in a lynch mob online.
Yeah. I've got to bounce, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, Jeremy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming on, Jeremy. It was good to see you.
Cool. Check out Jeremy at on like Odyssey and stuff, and on Twitter if you have the stomach for it. But let's get back to some of the stuff, the dirt here. So was there any before these tweets, before all this? Did you have like drama with them? Did you like show up to meetings and have controversy between people or anything like that?
We do meetings over Zoom because it's not safe.
Of course, it's not.
It's not safe. So we do meetings over Zoom. It's not safe. You might get COVID and die. But I was at first, like the first meeting that I came in, I was pretty aggressive and saying like, why haven't you been anti-lockdown?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you could write a blog for the LP Massachusetts website. And I was basically like,
blogs
Actually,
are
I'll
going to
touch on
change
that.
the world.
I went looking because I went looking on the LP Mass website for like minutes of meetings to see like votes and past record and whatnot.
Well, why would you have it up there?
No, the blog and everything, the news is all hidden behind a paywall, so only members can see it. So people who aren't logged into the website can't even see the blog.
We can't tweet against lockdowns because the one person with the tweeter keys is pregnant, and you cannot tweet while pregnant.
You what? You can't tweet about?
You can't tweet
Justin,
while you're
please,
pregnant.
please translate.
The one person with the keys to the Twitter account was pregnant.
Yes, and that's why we can't tweet.
So our state party is on like maternal leave or something, so we just don't say anything because nobody else can handle this?
Well, we couldn't tweet. We couldn't tweet because only one person from the entire LP Massachusetts party has access to the Twitter, and she's pregnant, so we can't tweet.
But if we, if we convince enough people to join our party, then they can pay us money to come read our blog, and then they will find out that we kind of disagree with, tyranny on mass scale. Then we'll change hearts and minds at that point.
Like, right? And I was basically like, why the fuck is this not the anti-lockdown party?
Yeah.
Like, why do the Trumpers at protests inspire me more than an account occasionally tweeting about freeing Britney Spears?
It's because of the racism.
It's because of the racism. Yeah, right? And so, and then like before the second meeting, I got a text from Justin being like, "Hey, you're gonna get expelled."
Mm-hmm. So this just came out of nowhere for you. Like nobody gave you a warning or anything like that. Just, hey, this is happening.
One of the state committee members is a good friend of mine, and he was the one recorded no vote on kicking Masha out.
Yeah.
And I've known him for a long time, and he texted me like that morning. He's like, "SOS, emergency! Ashley's trying to kick Masha out of the party." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And so I just forwarded it to Masha. I'm like, "What's this about?"
Yeah. And then I began tweeting about it like I tend to do, right? And then so I knew I was going to get expelled. I knew it was going to be a 2/3 secret vote.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea it already begun. So, right, I thought it would happen during the meeting, but apparently I texted one of the executive committee members. I texted Vogue Jeremy, and I said, like, I'm not going to go scorched earth on you. I feel like you can... I feel like, I think that in part he was doing it out of principle.
Sure.
But, I said, I'm assuming you're going to vote yes, right? And he said yes. And then he asked about hanging out soon, right? Because I'm a terrible racist. That's why we should hang out soon.
So people are still trying to be friendly and stuff. They're like, we're just going to kick you out. You don't need to be here because you're evil.
But we talked about his feelings about some stuff. We talked about the new color of his walls. We talked about him being late to the meeting because he's
and you were like, those walls are way too dark. It triggers me.
No, I mean, like, right. But it's just like, right. But I had no idea that the vote had, so like, I was fine with him voting yes until I learned he had already voted yes.
Okay.
Right. So it's just more like, don't do it behind my back. Right.
So a yes vote is to kick you out. You were fine with that.
Yeah.
Why were you fine with that?
Because
I'm a terrible person?
because actually I'm racist and he's black, and if he was offended by my tweet, I'm so racist that I believe it genuinely hurt him because I'm so racist. No, I can buy the branding argument, but I feel like the branding argument doesn't work if you then cry racist.
Right.
Well, let's remember what the actual charge was.
Yeah.
What Ashley said in the meeting, her exact words were, the charge is she either tweeted or retweeted an offensive tweet containing the N-word. And when I went back and looked at it, Masha never tweeted or retweeted an offensive tweet containing the N-word. Woke Jeremy replied to Masha with a quote tweet.
Right. So he was retweeting it.
Yeah. Asking her to
after the meeting ended, I tweeted a bad word with the hard R in all caps.
You deleted it.
And I deleted it because I did not want to go to Twitter jail.
And to clarify for people listening, what compelled you to do that?
Because if you are very upset about this, I will do it.
Because responding to somebody else retweeting it pissed you guys off, so I'm just going to tweet it myself. I don't need Jeremy to ruin my life. I can do it myself, damn it.
Yes, I'm a strong, independent woman, and that's why I have a chaperone for this podcast. Right? Yeah,
so the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts is kicking out female Jews for being racists.
But it was also the case, right? Like one guy was supposedly railroaded into voting yes, and then he quit the executive committee, but his vote still counted. One man has been living in New Hampshire for as far as I know.
It's the Libertarian way.
And he can still vote.
Mind you, I
said it's the Libertarian way. You're lucky he's in the country at all.
Yeah.
Why
are you voting as an executive committee member of LP Massachusetts if you live in New Hampshire?
When I was
on the executive committee,
and I moved to New Hampshire, I was removed from the executive committee 5 years ago.
So why hasn't he been removed from the executive committee if he lives in New Hampshire? And then one lady said she voted no against expelling me, but her vote registered as yes because she was holding the baby.
What does that mean? I've heard you say that a couple times, that it flipped to a yes because the baby was crying and they couldn't hear her right, or what?
No, it was more like she meant to click no, but because of the crying baby, apparently she clicked yes.
Oh. So did she say that? Did she say, whoops, I accidentally clicked the wrong thing?
Well, she said it to somebody who told it to me, but it's not like she'll come out and say it publicly.
Oh, okay.
Right? And then we don't know when the voting opened. I had to have a text from Vogue Jeremy saying we voted before the meeting and it closed at 10 p.m. that night. But Ashley Shade, it said it closed the next evening, right? So we have two different messages from two different executive committee members.
Sure.
Nobody will tell me when the voting actually opened. I just know from Vogue Jeremy via text that it opened before the meeting and they voted before the meeting.
Now,
but it's not like anybody told me what my charges are. It's not like there is no transparency. It's just that 2/3 of us, or some of us, and the crying baby, and a man that lives in New Hampshire, and the man that's already left the committee can vote you out at any time.
Right. So, Justin, can you weigh in on some of the bylaws? Is this even quote unquote legal within the scope of what the party is allowed to do, or not?
So let me put on my pink wig real quick for this one.
Yes.
The Massachusetts state party bylaws are a clusterfuck. I don't think they qualify as bylaws under any parliamentary authority.
Okay.
Most libertarians are used to Robert's Rules of Order because that's what everybody fucking uses, even as awful as they are. But Massachusetts actually uses Francis and Francis Democratic Rules of Order, which is a significantly better parliamentary authority than Robert's Rules of Order, and every state party should look into using Francis and Francis instead of Roberts. But the notion, like, bylaws are supposed to be a set of rules that govern an organization's conduct, and the State Party of Massachusetts has two documents. They have a constitution and bylaws. Their constitution can be amended in convention by the delegates and the members of the party. Their bylaws can be amended at any time by the state committee whenever they want for any reason.
So it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't think their bylaws hold up and qualify as what a parliamentary authority defines bylaws as, because they are not a product of the organization's membership. They're a product of the board. They're like what the LNC would consider a policy manual that governs how the LNC operates for its internal issues. But anything dealing with the party at large, the bylaws are amended only by the membership. And so I think under any parliamentary scrutiny, this wouldn't have held up as an expulsion, because the constitution of the state party says that an expulsion must be a 2/3 vote of the entire state committee with due process and a trial.
What due process? What trial?
Right.
So, I only got an expulsion letter because my account was shut off, and I began tweeting about it. And then eventually, like the next day, I got a letter from Ashley. And in the letter, it says, like, one of the reasons I've been expelled is because I threatened to troll, which is an act of aggression, which is a violation of the NAP.
Threatened to troll. What does that mean exactly? What was she referring to?
I wrote in the Slack channel after Vogue Jeremy complained about my Chad Jeremy fangirling. I wrote, the trolling will continue until the pearl clutching stops.
Okay. And
I violated the NAP.
Which, by the way, is after the vote. So the charges were added after the vote.
Yeah. So the charges were the vote took place supposedly before 8 p.m. Monday. On morning of Wednesday, I got the letter. Right?
Yeah.
But like, the most egregious aspect of it is point number 3 in the letter, which said she threatened to troll the organization, which is an act of aggression, which is a violation of the NAP.
So, I try to play devil's advocate as much as possible in situations like this, but, like, could you see, you said it's just using the word troll kind of proves that it's not a serious threat of, like, harassment or something, like I'm going to start a harassment campaign. Trolling is just shitposting, and every single libertarian does it. So
I will read you what Ashley Shade wrote.
Okay.
My shirt is trolling.
Yeah. Threatening to troll the state organization on official workplaces and engaging on such behaviors in social media and during the meetings for not agreeing with your position. An act of aggression, which is a violation of the NAP. So, right? And this is, I think, what Carrie Ann Harless was upset about, is if you define unwelcome and disagreeable speech as a violation of the NAP, you could remove from your party whoever you want to.
Right.
Because
And
it's
just funny that the Libertarian Party, of all parties, has the biggest problem with freedom of speech.
So we had a problem with Jackie Perry in New Hampshire because she's an insufferable, miserable fucking person who goes out of her way to just pick fights constantly and harass people constantly.
Okay.
We didn't kick her out of the party for that. We booted her from the Facebook group and the group chats and told her she wasn't allowed back in because she was mean. Like, we don't want you around, but you're still a member of the party. You just can't be in our fucking group chat. Right. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, it's not hard to kick somebody out of a fucking group chat.
Yeah.
Especially when you're the admin of the fucking group chat. Mm-hmm. Well, Jackie didn't get kicked out until she went ahead and doxed the chair of the party.
Okay. That's a little bit more aggressive than trolling, yeah.
And I don't even agree that necessarily should have risen to the level of kicking somebody out.
Sure.
Like,
depends on the circumstances.
I was not upset to see Jackie go, but I don't think the process in which she was expelled from the New Hampshire State Party was above board and really rose to the level of justification for it.
And we keep comparing this to like Karen Ann Harlow's situation and stuff, but Karen Ann Harlow was in a position of, political authority to some small degree, and you weren't, right? You weren't like
I'm just
an
a chick
official?
with a Twitter account.
Just you're just another voting person that they don't like.
My name is not like my Twitter account does not even say Mises on it because I'm sorry, I tweet too many I am too weird and controversial for Mises.
Yeah.
No, Karen Ann Harlow had one legitimate charge.
I'm just a bird on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's the difference is I think Karen Ann Harlow had one legitimate charge against her. In the whole list of charges that Laura Ebke had prepared, one of them I think was a legitimate complaint against Karen Ann.
What
that was that when she does her monetized YouTube channels and when she does all of her other stuff that she does for money, she uses her title, Secretary of the Libertarian Party. And so I don't think it should have risen to kicking somebody out, but per the policy manual that the LNC adopted and they voted on, that could be seen as misrepresenting the party. Like that was a legitimate charge.
I
but she should have gotten a trial.
YouTube channel, but
it's a legitimate charge, but she should have gotten a trial and the ability to defend herself within the rules.
Right.
But you can't misrepresent the party if you don't have a title to claim that you're representing the fucking party.
Yeah, I think that's that's kind of the biggest issue is that we're talking about just somebody that was trying to help the party, trying to bring people in, couldn't because the party was doing miserably. They joined the party as one of very few, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope here, and then it's like, you have to get out of here. You can't even associate with us in any way because you posted a mean tweet. Did they have a conversation with you? Did they call you up and say, ask you the question that I asked you, like, can you explain this? Can you tell me, are you a racist? Are you an anti-Semite?
I was muted until, so what Ashley Shade did during our meeting is that she kept everybody but the executive committee muted, and then when we began saying things she doesn't like, she would just mute us back, right? Sure. So this only came up, right? This would have happened in secret had Justin's friend not texted Justin and had Justin not texted me. I wouldn't have received my letter had I not been tweeting up a storm about it, right? So all of this came out just because of public pressure, because, right? And during the meeting, I would ask can you point to a specific tweet? Can you explain why? Right? And I was told in the sort of Miss Piggy voice, you're under consideration for tweeting or retweeting mean things. Right?
Yep.
And apparently
that's how we handle
has already
libertarians,
been taken place.
Autistic libertarians who don't know how to interact with people. We're going to kick them out if they don't know how to interact with people. Great. That's going to go well.
I mean, I would say this, right? But it's also the case of Masha is one of the people considered, okay, who also you're purging next. Well, you wouldn't know until their accounts are deactivated.
Do you think that's just so it doesn't feel like a direct attack on you? They're like, oh, we're doing this. We're kind of kicking a couple people out, cleaning house because we disapprove. Do you think it's possible that it is actually just you and they're just using that as a way to make it seem like it's not just a direct attack?
I am the one open Mises Caucus member.
Okay.
Whoever else disagrees next might be purged for hate speech too.
Sure.
I think if they knew the identities of the people running the LP Mass Macy's Caucus Twitter account, there would be other people being considered.
Okay.
Which is partially right. It's
Yeah, Masha's the only one who
Yeah,
made the mistake
yeah.
of like self-identifying as a
I
Mises.
didn't make the mistake. I knew ahead of time I would be able to keep my mouth shut, so I might as well,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, but it's just, but it's like, right? They had to focus on other racist tweets because they can't condemn one person for the Mises account, right? And to this, right? I am a woman. I'm not nearly as funny. I would never write the spicy mean tweets. I will gladly take credits for them.
Sure.
I'm Charlie, right? But I
as women do, yeah.
Yeah, as
you are a
women
Jew.
do.
You're supposed to be funny.
I'm a woman, right? What's that phrase in French? Jésus Charlie. How do you
Justin,
pronounce
translate.
it?
I don't speak French. I speak
it's like I am Charlie. It was after the Muhammad.
Oh, Charlie
trial.
Hebdo.
Yeah, like what's that phrase? Like Jesus Charlie.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. It's something everyone was running around after the
it means I'm Charlie. I just don't know how to pronounce it in French because I don't speak French.
Sure, gotcha.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, do you have any more on this case? If not, we can touch on some lighter stuff before we kick out of here.
I guess I don't know what else to add. Like, rather than Fred, like there is no transparency, there is no process.
And as of now, you don't know what's going to happen. They haven't. Wait, you did say that they did kick you out officially.
Yeah,
right?
I've been kicked out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So after tweeting enough, I finally got a letter on Wednesday that says, Tuesday's date on it, which says you threatened to troll, which is an act of aggression, which is a violation of the map.
Yes.
I just want to say, I don't think that Ashley Shade and the Pragmatist Caucus and, even the people in the LNC, like Laura Ebke and everyone who pushed to remove Karen Ann and those who pushed to remove Masha and the people who are doing other similar things to remove people they find disagreeable in other state parties, understand political blowback, understand that they are giving the Mises Caucus the greatest, option and advantage.
It's because they hate Ron Paul, so they never heard the blowback speech and all that. So they have no idea what's coming.
Somebody asked me about Karen Ann when Karen Ann got kicked out. They're like, I even told this to Karen Ann on her show. I'm like, I told everyone, I'm like, I don't think you realize you're just going to make her a martyr. And if there's one thing she loves to be, it's a fucking martyr.
Right.
I mean, look at what I'm doing. Right? I'm not honestly upset about being kicked out of LP Massachusetts. What I do hope to say is that if you live in Massachusetts and you think this is embarrassing, join the Massachusetts Mises Caucus, DM me, or check out our page. Right?
I heard that. If you don't isn't it true that if you, and this is something deep, I think, in the bylaws, but if you don't like your state party, you can just start another one and then steal the Twitter accounts and then claim yourself as the new.
We won that in New Hampshire. All right.
Yeah.
You can try, but the national. All right. Again, the Mises Caucus has been building their roles for the past 3 years, and the Mises Caucus came out of nowhere 3 years ago with 20 fucking people.
Yeah.
They showed up to convention in 2018 with a couple hundred people, and I think they're going to roll into Reno with 60-70% of the fucking delegation because they kept campaigning and recruiting on the LNC's corrupt. The people in party leadership are corrupt. And at the time when they started, I kept giving them shit. I kept attacking Michael Heiss. I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. No, I was on the LNC. I'm there's legitimate issues to be addressed with messaging and marketing and how the business is run, but nobody's fucking corrupt. And then all of a sudden, the Prags start doing shit to prove the Mises Caucus correct.
Right.
And everything the Mises Caucus, they're like Austrian economists. All they do is predict a crash and wait for it to happen and then claim they were right. They've been predicting corruption for 3 years. It finally happened. We were right. Right.
Yep. And I love the sentiment just for the chaos of it, right?
Yeah.
You like what?
So I like the sentiment just for the chaos of it.
Sure. Yeah.
So
yeah, and so how does this work moving forward? Will you be able to reapply for citizenship, or whatever the fuck you want to call it? Will you be able to reapply to if certain people get voted out and things change, or is it just you're gone forever and you're never allowed to be a libertarian again?
Well, that's the question I had for you, Masha.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of this until Dan just mentioned it, but if it's worth the $25 to try and find out, have you considered just trying to sign up for a membership with a different email address?
I would rather buy more White Claws.
All right. Well, I'm just saying, how thorough are they?
We should fund it. Like start a fundraiser, raise $100,000 for Masha to join the LP again, because that's how much it's gonna take. Obviously, we got to get the campaign ads out there and all that stuff. But yeah, we can talk about some more fun stuff. Like I wanted to ask you guys, if you had a gun to your head and you had to answer honestly, you were on a polygraph or whatever, and you didn't know how to cheat it. What is the most offensive thing you've ever tweeted?
Timothy McVeigh did nothing wrong.
I've said unless you're not like, unless, comma, you're not like held down, it's not rape.
I think
Would you guys like to explain your tweets?
You can go first, Justin.
Yeah, no, mine was specifically to try and be provocative. Obviously, Timothy McVeigh did something wrong.
Right.
And I was trying to bait people into saying, but what about the children? So I could respond with, okay, he should have waited for daycare to get out. But that really pissed off fakertarians and bad fucking libertarian takes, and they decided to try and dox me and cancel me for it. But it was super fun.
Just for that?
And,
I mean, nobody honestly thinks that that's not a joke, right? Nobody thinks that Timothy McVeigh did nothing wrong. Or is there a group of people out there saying Timothy McVeigh did nothing wrong?
Well, I mean, so there's a group of people that think Ted Kaczynski did nothing wrong, and it's not much of a leap from Ted Kaczynski to Timothy McVeigh. And I did make the argument when I went on Tower Gang, because Jose got offended by the tweet, and I ended up getting back and forth with Jose. And I'm like, no, here you go. Timothy McVeigh did nothing wrong. Timothy McVeigh had a problem with the government. Sure, Timothy McVeigh said a bunch of awful shit in his manifesto, that he was a racist piece of shit, but like he picked the right target. Like he didn't go up and try and blow up a fucking school, or he didn't fucking burn down a recreational center. He didn't loot his neighborhood stores. He blew up the federal building. He targeted the IRS and the ATF. Those are the appropriate targets. Like if you have an issue with the government, you want to go after the appropriate target, and that's the state, not your community. And that's the kind of thing that I really tried. Like I tried to engage with Black Lives Matter a lot when they were having the big riots. I'm like, hey guys, how about we don't burn down CVS? The police station's right there.
Yeah,
Like-
same. We talked about it on this show. Like when they burned down the cop shop, I was like, I wouldn't have done it, but I get it. At least that makes more sense than Starbucks. So, okay.
Yeah, no. And so like I can make an argument, and I use this to go into my rant about how the NAP is a childishly incomplete and sufficiently vague philosophy that doesn't actually prohibit violence, because it's too vague and anybody can argue that whatever they want complies with the NAP. And I make the argument that Timothy McVeigh did
Or whatever they want violates the NAP, like offensive tweets.
Words. Yeah, like Timothy McVeigh did not violate the NAP because he was acting in retribution. He felt aggressed upon by the government.
Right.
He felt that the government aggressed upon him first, and he acted in kind.
Right. Yeah. Masha, you're up.
Yeah.
Dare
so
I ask?
I had initially done a thread called like one hot take, and I treated my hot takes as like not just like government bad, liberty good.
Sure.
You know, I was like, I will honestly try to do hot takes that I feel like most of my followers are going to disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
And from one of the likes, I think I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, but I said something like, unless you're not, comma, like held down, comma, it's not rape. And I mean that in the spirit of the tweet. Like, I think that unless you're physically restrained and there's no physical way to get out of your circumstance, it's not rape.
It
If
would
you're
be.
too drunk, it's
It
not
at
rape.
least makes it a lot more complicated to rape somebody when they're not held down. If you're just chasing them around with your penis out.
Yeah. Right. And
I don't know
so
how that
immediately
works.
People
So
are like, well, what if
technically,
you're drugged? I'm like, okay, well,
Oops, I
like you're
tripped.
just looking to get offended, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oops, I tripped.
Sorry, right? But like, so sorry, Justin. I thought you said something else, and for a second my heart stopped.
What'd you think I said?
Nothing. We'll tell you after.
We'll save it for the bonus. She'll say what she thought she said in the or he said in the bonus.
Yeah, no, it's more of just like, look, if you were too drunk and you were blacked out, it's not rape. If you felt pressured, it's not rape. If you felt manipulated, it's not rape, because as a woman, I care about words having meanings and words like rape having meanings, right?
Okay, but
and
like,
I remember,
what's
If
the
you're
line?
too drunk and blacked out and don't know what you're doing, that's still not rape?
I mean, at what point does like unconsciousness enter the factor?
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
I
Like,
Bill
think
Cosby
that
did
it's-
nothing
no.
wrong. That's her quote, not mine. Let's be very clear here.
I will tweet that after this podcast is over. But I think that if somebody's purposely drugging you, that's like physically incapacitating you, I think that's different from you choosing to get blackout drunk. And I've said this as somebody that has gotten blackout drunk, right? I think that what you do to incapacitate yourself physically is not the same thing as somebody else purposefully doing something to incapacitate you physically without your consent. Like each White Claw I sip as we record this podcast is a White Claw I sip with my own consent.
I sip it with the intent of getting raped. That's why that's why I don't mind everybody else doing it.
Now,
as well.
I do think there's a difference between like what I think the most offensive tweet I tweeted and what Twitter reacted to the most offensively. Like, I think Timothy McVeigh did nothing wrong. Probably should have been my most offensive tweet. Like, I thought John Wilkes Booth did nothing wrong, was up there with it, but nobody reacted negatively to that one at all. I sold a t-shirt. I now sell a t-shirt with the portrait of John Wilkes Booth that says you miss 100% of the shots you don't make.
That's lovely.
But no, I think the most offended Twitter has gotten at me was what I asked what's his name, guy from Oklahoma,
Kevin Hobby.
Yeah, I just said, who is Kevin Hobby and why do people say you did nothing wrong, and blew up.
I don't know who that is.
Exactly. I pissed off. So many people got pissed off. Apparently, he was involved in a domestic abuse scandal. I don't fucking know. I had never heard of the guy until that tweet.
Well, domestic abuse accusations.
Yeah. And then one
Yeah.
one crazy bitch kept coming at me, and finally I retweeted her and I said, anybody who says there's no reason to hate a woman has never argued with this bitch. And that was the most offensive thing that Twitter thinks I've ever done.
Okay.
Apparently
well, guys, thanks for coming on. It's been fun.
We totally hate women, too, in addition to black people and Jews.
Yeah, naturally so. Justin, do you have any... I mean, you look like you've got some minority in there. What do you hate yourself for?
I'm just Irish.
That's good enough. That's good enough.
I've got an Irish passport somewhere around here, but...
Nice. So, again, I just want to emphasize...
We were treated worse in Boston than black people in the 1800s. That is a matter of historical fact.
Go ahead.
Irish need not apply. It was during the Civil War when there was mass immigration from Ireland, and Irish men coming off the boats were drafted immediately into the Union Army, and Irish women were being denied rent and denied households in Boston.
So you're saying Irish people. When you first said it, I thought you meant this scenario that's going on in Massachusetts right now is worse. It's like, please elaborate just a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
We here in Massachusetts in the Libertarian Party, we were thrown out of our minuscule party after 2 months of being in. That is obviously way worse than anything that happened before or after the Civil War. It's like 9/11 times 12. But guys, I think we're pushing the end here of the public stream. Are you good to stick around for some bonus and get a little bit weirder?
I just need to run to the bathroom and run back, and I'm all good to go.
Cool. Well, before we switch over to that, go ahead and give all your plugs, each one of you, and anything you want to promote other than racism, and I will, I'll give you your floor here.
I'm at Rothbirdian on Twitter, and if you want to get involved in the Massachusetts Mises Caucus, look for the Massachusetts Mises Caucus on Twitter, or just DM me, and that's it.
Cool. Justin?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's at O'Donnell, the number 4NH. It's a holdover from when I still thought running from office was a good idea. I'm not going to change it because they gave me a blue check mark. And you can see me on YouTube with my new show, O'Donnell for Liberty. We've had great guests like Gary Vaynerchuk. I had Ashton Birdie last week, and we've got a couple big name guests coming up. It's at O'Donnell for Liberty on YouTube. And if you want, you can go buy my book and learn how to talk to libertarians because you're all assholes on Amazon.
We're autists.
That's right.
Yeah.
And or
Why not
autists.
both? Yes. Well, guys, thanks for being here, and I'll talk this out. Stick around. You can go pee if you need to, or whatever, and then we'll jump into bonus. But thank you, guys, and thank you to all of you who tuned in for this live stream. I didn't know what I was getting into. It's fine. It's just fine, guys. It's okay to talk to people that you disagree with. It's okay to disagree with people in the same party. It's okay. And the biggest point that I would like to leave here on is, why wasn't there a conversation? You know, I don't care who it was that was enacting these things, but why wasn't there a fucking conversation? Just like what happened here tonight. Are you a racist? Why are you doing this? Why are you making our lives more difficult? We want to understand at least, and then if we can't come to terms on that, and if we feel threatened or whatever, kick them out of the party. I don't care. These people are assholes. You saw it for an hour and a half. But until you have the conversation, then why? Why do you feel like that is okay? And Ashley Shade, again, I've had nothing but pleasant interactions with you, and I have nothing against you personally. If you would like to come on the show and give your side of this, I fully welcome it. That's what the show is all about. But yeah, have the conversations, guys, and keep the dialogue open. That's the only way that we can actually move forward and focus on the things that matter here, which is expanding the world for liberty, expanding people's mindsets and their knowledge. It's going to take a lot more than kicking people off of Twitter, kicking them out of libertarian parties or whatever, to actually get us to our goal. So have the conversation, and until next time, please continue to, follow me on Twitter, at TSIDpod. Go to thesystemsdown.tv for all the things, all the follows and likes and shit. thesystemsdown.tv, and sign up for patreon.com/thesystemsdown to get into the bonus, the Downers Club, and get the bonus that we're about to do here. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to find out together. But until next time, guys, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, be weird, have fun, be bad, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace out.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.